So yes, I don't have a microphone, so I have to use my phone. And as you can see, I'm clearly wearing the same thing. Shout out to Planet Shakers Church, which is the church I go to here in Melbourne. You should come along. Come and get saved. Come to know Jesus. I need to actually bring up my best friend, Kyriakos Grizzly. It's my boy Grizzly. So today, I just want to talk about... It's literally the exact same day I'm recording my intro. But this is really the first episode, I guess. I don't really know what to call this yet. It's either Road to Nationals,
That's all, folks.
Road to USAPL Nationals, Road to USAPL Junior Nationals 2024, or just Road to 600 kilo total. But essentially, I do want to document my journey to nationals. Yay! Essentially, I actually competed back in 2023 for Junior Nationals as well. That was my first ever USAPL Nationals. I know IPF is now like the big thing, and then in Australia here is the APA, so Australian Powerlifting Alliance, and I'm still on that other side of the USAPL, so I have not actually transitioned into the APA or IPF side essentially. But to me, look, being a beginner powerlifter, only doing this for 2 years, like nationals for me is a pretty big thing, and I love to document that process. I actually documented it first on my Instagram, where I was just uploading literally just short videos of me training and my journey essentially. But I realized I actually just really enjoy the longer form stuff, so I'm gonna try and do this essentially. But with this video, it's really just an introduction to my competitive history and what has happened this year more specifically, and also just to give some context about what happened previous year, so that has led me to this very moment right now. So I know for some of y'all, you're like 600 kilo total is nothing. I know people who actually do that as like a sub-junior or something in powerlifting, which is pretty crazy. Or literally some people's first competition, they hit 600 kilo total. So I am not that guy. And what I'm hoping to actually do as I document this process is that with people in my weight class, well, the 74, 75 is, you have people like Austin Perkins hitting 830 plus into the 850s, hitting 830s, 850 pluses on the world stage, on the national stage, like crazy. I know, outlier stuff. And I hope I can at least be someone out there who's a little bit more, I can at least encourage someone out there who, has maybe a similar total to me, or less, or even, above me in total, but, we can all kind of uplift each other up and to still keep our heads down and still put in the work and still focus, because, to keep that intrinsic motivation as well inside. With social media and with powerlifting growing as such a big sport, I think it can get extremely, at least what I found, like, especially for someone like me I'm kind of low-key competitive sometimes, even though I don't like to say it, I am low-key. Like, sometimes I'm like, I really got to get that dog out in me. I think sometimes it's really good to kind of refrain from that, and it's always good to look internally again and be like, all right, it's just me against me, and I just want to beat my previous self, essentially. Especially with powerlifting now, where it's becoming so head-to-head. I think it's super cool for the sport. But in terms of athlete psychology, I think it is just good to always just look internally again. And I just hope I can be someone on the internet that can hopefully motivate and encourage any one of you out there who, potentially is at that 600 total as well, or 500 plus total, that, we can all kind of work together and always just try to be our better and best self, essentially, the best lifter, the best athlete, the best human that we ever can be. I just want to quickly talk about why I started competing, and I hope this is maybe something that can help some of you out there to kind of look internally as well, right? As I said in my introduction, now I don't even know if I'm splitting this into 2 videos or 1 video, because I actually have not really planned this out. But essentially, I talked about how I've always been an athlete. I did parkour and free running. I wanted to be actually a professional parkour athlete. So I did it for about 10 years. I did the sport, and I got into some advertisements, even tried like 2 competitions. I traveled to Singapore and Japan as well to attend parkour events, or just for like a parkour trip even. But unfortunately, with the sport being so young, and I do think I could have taken a lot more initiative, even in kind of just, if I was just a lot more mature, I would have at least, I think I could have done something in the parkour body of Malaysia. As I am originally from Malaysia, I've never said that before. I just realized. But I thought it would have been really nice if I actually kind of helped grow the sport back in Malaysia. Unfortunately, now I am here in Melbourne, and unfortunately, I think I just kind of fell out of love with the sport. I always love, parkour is always dear to my heart, but unfortunately, you just kind of grow up and you just, parkour stopped being the sport that I enjoyed doing. I realized I was doing it a lot more for social media, and I kind of held my identity to the sport of parkour. I saw myself as a parkour athlete, and I could never detach myself from that. Anyways, just to get back to why I actually compete in powerlifting, what I actually love about powerlifting and how it has a really easy barrier of entry in terms of people to actually come in to compete. And what I love about that for me is that I always found myself to be someone who kind of ran away from pressure, or at least not either run away from pressure or not thrive well in pressure. And I think what powerlifting has really taught me is to actually go head on and face that pressure when times get hard. And I know, just a heads up, gonna bring out the alarm that this is gonna be super cheesy road for some people, or some people are gonna be like, bro, it's not that deep. And that's actually completely fair, because sometimes when I actually powerlift, when I get too deep into these thoughts, I literally just tell myself, bro, it's not that deep. You're just lifting some heavy circles. That is literally it. You're just lifting weights, man. It's fair. It's true. It's not that deep. But just being super honest with y'all, this is actually why powerlifting has meant a lot for me in only this short 2 years. I also understand it's only this short 2 years. Whether or not I keep doing this sport, I don't know. But at the moment, I think this was a part of me that I think I never really filled the gap, or in terms of powerlifting really allows me to have a certain goal to work towards, whether it's a total, whether it's a certain, I don't really want to say number, because I kind of detach myself from the numbers as well now, but I just like to see myself as someone who actually works hard. I think that if what I can say in my whole of athletic quote-unquote career, I never really had an athletic career, but in my years of doing sports, is that sports and athleticism and all of this has really, really taught me how to train hard, how to have mental perseverance, and I think powerlifting has really allowed me to express that, or at least has kept that part of me lit up, essentially, right? I want to hit 600 kilo total. Nothing too deep about that, it's just a number. But I think what's most important is also just do a performance that I was, or at least I am, really happy with. Basically, let's actually track back, shall we? Let's go down memory lane of powerlifting. So my first competition was back in 2023 of March. I'm going to do a big meet recap, essentially, right? That has led all the way down to this USAPL Junior Nationals 2024. Essentially, my first ever meet happened on the 12th of March 2023. I compete in the under 75 kilos, for those who don't know. I weighed in at 71.55, so very, very low. 190 kilo squat, that would be a 10 kilo PR for me. And then I did a 105 kilo bench, which is a 5 kilo PR. Then this is really funny, I did 207.5 kilo deadlift. I missed 225, so 200. I missed 225 kilo on the deadlift, on the conventional deadlift, because I was being a little bit dumb, basically. And I had a total of 502.5, which qualified me for nationals. It's really, really funny, but essentially, just a short story. This is like a running thing in my powerlifting competition so far. But essentially, basically, we came into this competition, my friends and I. We came in with no handler, not knowing how to handle. We only had one friend. Her name is Ting, so shout out to Ting. She actually really helped us, because she's the veteran in our group. We had 4 of us competing together, basically, and she's the veteran in the group, and she was competing in the next flight, on the next group, essentially, in the afternoon group, sorry, and we were competing in the morning, me and another friend. And then she was kind of quote unquote handling us. It was super funny, but basically we didn't know we only had a minute to put in your attempts, right? So I did 207.5. I did 205, and then we took forever to discuss what my next attempt would be. So, or even my other friend as well, Winston. Yeah, we couldn't put in our attempts on time, and they could only let us go up like 2.5 kilos. So it was super funny. We from 205 went straight to 207.5. It was really funny. So I was like, damn it, I wanted to do 220 or 225 on the platform or something. I was really emotional. Not really emotional, but when you're on the platform or like on meet day, you get a little bit more like, oh, I want a certain number. So I really wanted 225, I think. So I went from 207 and I jumped straight to 225. It was just hilarious. And this is the reoccurring theme for every meet I have so far. Well, not every meet so far, what am I saying? But it has happened twice in a row and I'm extremely annoyed about it. But essentially, I always lose grip on my left hand. So somehow my left hand, my thumb always comes off, like in hook grip. I put hook grip, but it's so annoying and it just keeps happening to me. And unfortunately, that was the first time I ever experienced it, and I was like, no! And I didn't get 225. And then next competition, I still haven't had a coach. I have not met my coach, Chris, yet. No, wait, I've... Pardon me. I met him. He actually... My coach actually beat my friend and I in the under 75 kilo weight class, which is hilarious. So we met him and he pulled like 320 kilos or something, and we were like, that's insane. And then I haven't got coaching yet, but I was considering it. I was running my own program, and then I decided, oh, you know what, I was building really good momentum, and I somehow had a competition at the Strength Fortress, which is also where I had my first competition, but they had another competition going on in the middle of the year. So I was like, why not do it as well? And it happened on that's the 10th of June, essentially. That's my second ever meet. It was probably one of the best competitions I ever had. It was like 9 for 9. So I weighed in at 72.5, a little bit heavier this time. So I managed to hit a 200 kilo squat, a 110 kilo bench press, and a 232.5 kilo deadlift, which is a 542.5 kilo total. So that was a really good meet for me, 9 for 9. But essentially, after that meet, I was a bit lost, and I was like, what the heck should I do? Should I just keep running my own program? And I wanted to go to Nationals as well, because I knew Nationals was happening. And I decided, time to get a coach. Next meet I did was basically USAPL Junior Nationals 2023. In the 75 kilo weight class, under 75 kilo weight class, I weighed in at 73 kilos. So squat, I managed to have a 5 kilo PB. I did 205 kilos. And for the bench press, I did 112.5, which is just a 2.5 PB. Bench is essentially my weakest lift. Like I know bench is always the weakest lift. Like, of course, the bench for me has just always been struggle town, and it's been a major work essentially for me. Then deadlift, I managed to hit a 232.5 kilo PB. So I just matched the PB. That's about it. Not too much. It's just a 550 kilo total, just plus 7.5 kilos. I didn't have the best performance going into Nationals. I think I came in just from the turnaround from the June meet into USAPL Nationals 2023. I was just not say burnt out, but I was pretty fatigued. I was pretty cooked. It was also the first time Chris and I was working together, and we were changing some things, playing around with some things, and I think it was just like, especially bench, when I changed a lot of my technique, that's when I was just not confident in my bench technique. I sucked at pausing, all right, and I was not really training to the standard as well, with especially for bench press, with the press commands, and I was like, oh man, the equipment was really, really hard, like the carpet was really slippery, but really I just didn't train up to the standard. After that was my 2023 out of the way. Now going into 2024, we were invited. So essentially our first ever competition was 2023 was the TSF, so the Strength Fortress team championships. So in 2024, we were essentially, my friends and I, who we first competed together in the team championship, we were invited to 2024's team championship again. So that is basically my next competition, or more like my first competition of 2024. Now, if I were to go back a little bit in the past, is that after Nationals of 2023, I actually had a little bit, or I will say, this knee injury that was it's been so annoying. I've basically, a rough history about me is that from all the jumping from parkour and free running and all the impact I've taken, my knees are cooked. So I have really bad knees. And I think what's been really nice about working with Chris is that we have been essentially kind of maneuvering of what's like the minimal dose I need or that I can tolerate for squats while being able to still make progress, essentially, right? So I think what happened in the past with me doing parkour and free running, and I even took up Olympic weightlifting. I have not touched on this before, but I did do Olympic weightlifting for like a year or two. Going into those ass to grass squats a little bit too much, I would say, has caused a lot of stress on my knees. When I think what I should have done is probably gradually incorporate ass to grass squats instead of going straight into dive bombing, getting that hamstrings touch the calves at like 100 plus kilos. I probably shouldn't have done that straight away. And probably start at maybe start at body weight and then go up. But it is what it is. My knees were cooked, and I'm probably feeling the most healthiest I've actually been in a long time. But essentially after USAPL Nationals, there was one day I had a friend come from Malaysia. Shout out to Nick if you're watching this somehow. He came from Malaysia. He used to be one of my best parkour buddies. Such a good friend of mine. He came from Malaysia to visit Melbourne, and we were I had to get a parkour session in with him. Of course. So we decided to go to a trampoline park, jump around. And also on that day, I actually woke up with a bit of a sore knee already. And then I had my squat session because I was like, I can't skip training. So I had my squat session and I went out to do parkour. And I think that was basically disaster, essentially. So my patella was my left knee patella was just exploded, I guess. That went on from November of 2023 all the way until right now, essentially. But now my knee is feeling the best it's ever been, and I'll talk through that rehab process later on. But essentially, I don't want to give excuses, but I was handling and I was competing at the same time. So I think I was just pretty stressed out, and I was not really locked in all right, I gotta perform my lifts, right? I was just more so all right, he's gonna go, then you're gonna go, and then I'm gonna go. So it was just kind of all over the place. We couldn't really find a handler, and I'm just gonna say this right now. I also agreed to also doing it, because I was I am growing as a powerlifting coach at the same time, and I really wanted more handling experience. Yeah, part of me was just you know what? Let's just do it. I've never done it before. I think it'll be a great experience. And do I regret it at all? No, I do not regret it. If I could actually go back in time, I would still keep it the same. I would still handle and compete at the same time. As crazy as it was, I would still do it. Yeah, I think I almost cried in this competition. I won't lie. But essentially, squats, Chris and I decided, so my coach, Chris and I, we decided that we will sandbag squats like crazy. Just do what I can do. We also swapped from heels to flats for the first time. I've actually not squatted in flats in a really long time, so that was a bit weird. Also changed out the technique a little bit to a bit of a wider stance. So I just hit 180 kilos. It was actually pretty it was spot on in terms of attempt wise. But that was the hardest 180 kilos I actually felt on my back. Even though in footage it looked so clean, but I was oh, that was hard. Bench 110. So my 110 kilo on the opener was really weird. It's the first time I ever missed an opener. But essentially one of my fingers was not on the ring, I think. But I also think my butt came off pretty aggressively because I was being super right. I was trying to explode off my chest like crazy, and my leg drive just went. Alright, so my butt just came off. But then because of how well the opener moved, we were let's just jump 5 kilos, go to 115. That was part of the plan, and I hit a platform PR of, not platform PR, I just matched my PR, I guess, from training of 120 kilos, which is insane for me, because for me that was an insane number to hit, 120 kilos, which is pretty crazy when you have a 74 out there doing 200 kilos. Come on, man. But yeah, that was a 7.5 kilo PB for my bench on the platform, which is, to me, I'm all right, you know what I'm saying? Bench is going somewhere. Deadlift. Now, this is my first time. So I actually switched from conventional to sumo deadlift. I know, boo, y'all sumo haters can say that. But anyways, sumo deadlifts are pretty. I love sumo deadlifts. So keep in mind, I actually did 240 kilos in training, which is why I was pretty confident coming in for deadlifts, especially, as I really wanted to let deadlifts shine and see how my sumo deadlifts go. Also, just a really quick story time about this meet is that I actually hurt myself. So in prep for this competition, I actually injured myself coming into comp. So again, I am a parkour athlete. And when I went back to Malaysia in January of this year, and that was literally a couple months before the competition, right? And of course, being in Malaysia, I have all my parkour friends, and I was let's do parkour. Because that's a great idea when I'm in prep. So I decided to go on a trampoline and jump around to do some flips. And again, I snapped up my knee. I have one knee that's pissed off, my patella, the one that's ongoing. And then I have another knee that I decided to snap up. And I'm like, I am done for. But, oh glory to God, I was praying, I was massaging it like crazy. I was doing all sorts of stuff to get some blood flow in there. I was eating heaps, sleeping heaps, just to try and get that knee better. And oh glory to God, praise Jesus, I managed to actually be pretty strong on the day. I did my 180 kilo squat. Sumo deadlift was actually trending pretty well as well, despite the injuries. So yeah, thank you to Chris for dealing with my stubbornness, man. For deadlifts, I missed 235 twice. I missed it on my second attempt and on my last attempt, which is why I just nearly cried. I've just never missed that much before on a platform, which to me was just really gut-wrenching. Well, heart-wrenching and gut-wrenching. So that was my meet, and then now going into the final meet into USAPL Junior Nationals. So this is probably my quote-unquote redemption meet. I don't really want to call it a redemption meet. I just really tried not to take this meet too seriously, really. I just wanted to come in and do what I do, right? I was really locked into training, and also I started tracking nutrition and stuff as well, so I wanted to take that a little bit more seriously. So this is the ESS, or Elemental Strength Society Winter Showdown 2024. So shout out to those guys. Amazing meet. Best warm-up room ever as well. It was crazy. Such a good warm-up room. Hit a 570 kilo total, weighing in at, I did not say again, but I think this was the heaviest I ever weighed in. I think it was around 73 plus kilos. So not too bad. Obviously, we are trying to actually really fill up this class recently. So again, for squats, we came in really just wanting to come out a lot healthier. So I just really didn't want to push myself where my knees were going to be busted and then I would come in wimping for nationals. I also did a consult with Tom. So he's from Perform Motion, which are guys back in, I think it's Brisbane. Yes, I think it's Brisbane. Correct me if I'm wrong. But I think it's from Brisbane. He's an exercise physiologist, essentially. And he basically looked at my knee. We did a consult call and he was giving me some rehab exercises to essentially do. It had a lot to do with my adductors, essentially, right? So I was rehabbing all the way after that terrible meet I had at TSF, the Strength Fortress, and then I was just rehabbing all the way into this meet at ESS. So essentially, we just came in, whatever I had on the day, just did it. By the way, just a really fun fact, I changed from the super stiff like insert sleeves into the new SBD sleeves, which is pretty interesting. So yeah, and I still managed to actually squat like pretty well. So I was pretty happy with that. So the plan was actually to do 187.5 kilo on the day for my final squat, but Chris said, looking at my second attempt squat, he was like, I seem pretty on. So we decided to let's just do 190 kilos. And really, when I looked at it, I was like, yeah, that's totally cool. I've not hit 190 kilos at all in prep, right? The heaviest squat I did was, I think, 172.5. Around there. So to do 190 to me was pretty insane. So it moved super well. Probably moved at like an RP 8, I would say. Very happy. I think I could have at least gotten back my 200 kilos that day. And I was barely training squats. I only started, basically the entire training now is I'm doing squat once a week, right? It's really funny. I went from 3 times a week squatting to 2 times a week squatting to now 1 time a week squatting plus hack squat. That's it, right? And then as for bench, I did 127.5 kilos. So that's a massive PB for me as well on squat. That actually matches my training PB, I guess. So yeah, 127.5. Bench was feeling on, but I think bench is one of those lifts where you just don't really want to take chances. So for me, knowing my experience with bench press in competition, 127.5 was the safest choice, and I think it really was. I did misgroove a little bit. I actually ended up pushing a little bit to it in front of me like this instead of pushing it this way. So that was a little bit of a scare. So in terms of deadlifts did have like the biggest redemption, right? Managed to do 252.5 kilos as my final pull, and it was actually pretty good. I think I had at least 255, 257, if my grip will also hold on, of course. So 9 for 9 day, really happy. 570 kilo total. Now, moving on from that, into nationals is where I want to try and hit at least a 600 kilo total. And then from there, just put my head down, just keep chipping at it, just push myself as an athlete until my athletic career ends, essentially. And, was extremely proud of this day. Thank you to Brandon, who handled me as well. Amazing handling. it was his first time handling as well, and he did an amazing job. So now moving on to USAPL Nationals, and going into this competition, I really don't want to also be too hard on myself, as I think my last USAPL Nationals, I was just extremely like fixated. I was just really like hooked up to like powerlifting, and I realized the more sometimes I detach myself from it, the better I actually perform, which is what I'm trying to do this time around. Just take whatever is there. I think I'm just trying to mature and grow as a lifter as well, and as an athlete. So whatever happens on the day, I'm super open to whatever happens. Even if I just go 3 for 9, please Lord, I don't want that to happen. But if that ever happens, like, that's okay. Just kind of managing my expectations, just do my best, lay it all on the table, just knowing that you left no stone unturned, essentially, right? That's really it for this video. My journey to essentially a 600 kilo total, or even just journey to USAPL Junior Nationals 2024, which is also my final year of being a junior, which is sad, but not really. Which is I wouldn't say sad, because I actually don't really care or don't really mind. I just want to do the best that I can be. So, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.